Just a quick note, we may have investments in some projects discussed on this podcast. However, nothing we say should be taken as financial advice or a recommendation to buy or sell any asset. Please always remember to do your own research and never take our discussions as a recommendation to buy or sell any asset. Thanks for tuning in and on to the show. Welcome to the Friend Zone presented by TokenSoft. Today I'm here with Liron from Seismic. Seismic is the encrypted blockchain. Seismic lets developers encrypt apps, produce differentiated and I assume very private user experiences. Welcome, Liron.
Yes, sir. Thanks so much for the intro and thanks for having me. Pleasure to meet everyone.
So talk us through, what got you started going in the direction of Seismic, and ultimately it would be good to learn what an encrypted blockchain actually is.
Very happy to go into this. On the founding of Seismic, a lot of it starts from when I first got into crypto. I got into it from the cryptography angle. That's what I studied while I was in university. I knew I wanted to apply it to some field that really needed it, and crypto was top of that list. Plus, the people were just really fun. So I ended up going into here, and coming out of undergrad/grad school at Stanford, I knew that I wanted to start a company in some place where me and my friends could be the best in the world at something. And my friends and I couldn't be best in the world in most things, but working in encryption X blockchains was the one place where we could. So from there, we knew we wanted to go through a demand-driven process, talk to about 5 to 10 protocols that were our friends and said, hey, anything that you want to build that's off your roadmap a little bit because it's too experimental, too much technical risk here, we're just going to build it for you and figure it out. And then when we started building things, or I started building things, I would keep running into issues on these properties I didn't have access to on existing chains. Like on Arbitrum and Optimism was mainly where I was building. And from there, I figured out that these properties are pretty important to this class of apps. This class of apps is going to be pretty big in the future. Once people start digging into this design space, I should figure out how to provide these properties. And the result of that was Seismic. So that's the start of it.
So you're one of the very few people in crypto that actually understands cryptography.
There are a lot of like people that understand it much better than me. I feel like I understand it just enough to apply it well to problems. I think I'm definitely not a top tier cryptography researcher, but if you take the intersection of likes cryptography, has done enough research in it, and wants to build products, then maybe I could be up there.
And, when Bitcoin came out, there was a very big culture around ensuring privacy. And so it has like a couple cool features that make it possible to be more private than the default. And when Ethereum came out, I feel like a lot of that emphasis was shifted towards having, many applications, making it very easy to build on, et cetera. The easy to build on took a very long time. And talk to us a little bit about, what are some of the core issues that you ran into that were sort of holding you back from creating the right experience for users?
Absolutely. The early Bitcoin endeavors into privacy and plus the early Ethereum endeavors into it are very different from how I see privacy and encryption going from here on. And the reason is early Bitcoin, early Ethereum, the war chant for privacy is because it's for personal freedoms, and it was more ideological based, which was incredibly important and created so many great works like Zcash that process a ton of volume today, where we've really proven out that you need privacy for personal freedoms section. Now, when I'm thinking about privacy and encryption today, going forward, and with Seismic, I'm seeing a shift from ideology based to demand based, where people are saying, oh, we don't need encryption just because I want to pay and not have everyone see. We need encryption because it solves for a pretty fundamental bottleneck in application design space that you need for pure just products. So a lot of the demos that we've been putting together and showing people, the first question that we asked is, we thought you were an encryption project. Like what is encrypted here? And the catch is always, this doesn't exist without encryption, because forced transparency and full transparency doesn't let you do as many things as you need to. So this is why encryption is important, but it's not like in your face important.
Can you give us an example of one of those things that's held back by the lack of
Yep.
proper encryption?
Yes, absolutely. One example is running a business on chain is one of the big things that we're focusing on. At Seismic, we talk about this a lot. It's called, we want everyday crypto to happen, where we see this is one of the biggest avenues for growth for crypto, especially at this stage in the cycle. And when you're thinking about everyday crypto, you want crypto to be critical to people's daily financial lives. The issue is that the more critical a transaction is, the less likely you can broadcast it publicly to the entire world. One example of that is restaurant revenue. Another example is, let's say, salaries and paying your rent. And these are all good first order reasons of why you need encryption. And this is stuff that we've known for a while. Like we've known that you can't pay for someone's salary on chain. And there's some stuff later on. We have some takes on why this is not enough and then what more you can do to actually make this happen. Because I feel like people have been talking your ear off about we need encryption on chain to do private payments for the last 10 years, but it hasn't happened yet. And we have some answers for that I'm happy to get into later.
Interesting. I feel like you've tapped into a design space that as an industry, we've been a little bit too heads down to explore. And so it's interesting. You're sort of taking the 10,000 foot perspective and pulling the applications of cryptography forward into the mainstream. And that's been the main issue. Like, I feel like crypto, for lack of a better analogy, monetizing crypto primitives, the crypto space sort of like monetized it. And so it provided a way for people to play around with, hard technical things like cryptography, but also have some sort of future income or some income in general tied to it. But now the application layer is sort of going properly mainstream, where it's not just developer focused. You can sort of tap into traditional businesses, like you're saying, and capture a much bigger addressable market than we have today, which is very fascinating.
Oh, absolute plus one. And I might even make a stronger statement and say it's a much bigger market that instead of just want to go into, it's probably need to go into. Like we've had a really great self-experimentation phase in crypto over the last few years where we designed all of these primitives of decentralized finance. And then now it's starting to become evident that we've, let's say, like reached some carrying capacity of how much we can do without plugging into daily financial lives.
So talk to us a little bit about what Seismic actually is. So I think the mission is very clear, and I love it. And so talk to us a little bit about, is this sort of a layer one blockchain? Is it a layer on top of existing blockchains? How are you sort of architecting and thinking about this?
Yeah, great question. So Seismic is a layer one blockchain that encrypts protocols. That's our main bit. When we say one of the encrypted blockchain, what we mean is that.
So give us an example of a protocol that's encrypted.
Yes, great question. So from earlier, we talked about how on first order observations of you need encryption for essential activity to go on chain. That's stuff that we've known for a while. Then the question is, why is the timing always never right? Like we could have done, like we had private payments since Zcash in 2014. Why has it never caught on? And our core hypothesis is that you can't just take the first order, you need payments on chain. You need to do some second order where you take these payments and then you create some differentiated user experience that is not just different from crypto, but different from the regular financial world. So one example of this is say, hey, if consumer payments are on chain, like business revenue is on chain, I'm going to my local pizza shop, I'm paying for my pizza. If I do that through crypto, it's not going to be very different from using my Visa credit card today. What could be different and interesting is if instead of this payment going straight into the restaurant's account, it goes into some vault. And this vault does something where if you are a regular for this many days and you get some soulbound token that gives you some portion of future revenue here. So it essentially lets you invest in a restaurant by buying pizza. And then this is the second order of you've never been able to do things like invest in, you have 5 pizza shops on the block and you know which is best. And this second order, and the reason that's exactly why our entire hypothesis is built on capturing the second order. You need to encrypt not just the payments, you need to encrypt the protocol that can actually do something with these payments.
It's funny with things like Zcash. It's interesting. The space accomplished private payments, but you're right. They never said, okay, now what? And you're
Yeah.
sort of saying, okay, now what? Well, with encrypted payments, we can now, for example, do this embedded reward system, which is kind of interesting. It's like everyone already has a reward system, so why not just make it native in the payments?
Yeah. Make it native, tie it to legitimate restaurant revenue, make it feel more like ownership. Like there are very few superpowers that blockchains truly, truly give. And one of them is the magic of being early.
So this is kind of interesting. And